Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Recently, I came across this video in my YouTube recommended feed talking about how computer science is cooked, and it's coming from the perspective of a new computer science grad. So I thought I just might share the video with you guys and just give my perspective on it. As someone who just graduated computer science relatively recently, about 2 years ago, I thought I could give some valuable insight. I know people who still haven't gotten jobs who graduated with me and who are still struggling. So yeah, let's get into the video. I'm a bit sick, so if my voice sounds weird, just keep that in mind. But let's get into the video.
Um, this is going to be me as a computer science new grad. I graduated in August of 2025, and this is going to be me just talking about my experience as somebody who probably is considered to be cooked. Now, why am I cooked? Apparently because I don't have any internships. I never did any internships while I was going to school. I am walking out of college with just my degree to my name, pretty much. And yeah,
Just quick. Uh, if you're doing like CS or considering doing CS, definitely get an internship. At least try your best to get an internship. I know sometimes it's out of your control depending on how the economy is and a lot of different factors. But if you're actively not, or that's not necessarily actively not, if you can't get an internship, it does really hurt your chances in the job market as getting a job. My first job, actually, my current job, I actually got from an internship. They took me on after my internship finished. So internship can be kind of make or break for you. But let's continue the video.
yes, I do have a lot of projects that I was doing. I have a few that I've done on my own, but mostly they were school projects. And the reason for this is I just kind of came into computer science as a freshman. And I chose that because I liked it and I thought it was very interesting. I had built my PC that I used to stream with in high school, and ever since then I had become pretty interested in computers and learning how they work. So I went to school for that, just because I felt like, this is going to be cool. This is going to be something I'm going to be really interested in. And
Okay, story time actually. So he's talking about how you started your got into CS. For me personally, the way I got into CS was gonna sound funny. I had a couple different ways, but big influence is actually SAO. I don't know if you ever watched SAO, like the anime, but a big part of that anime is like they enter like this VR system where like they're in the game and stuff. And I thought that was the coolest thing as like a young adult or teenager. And so I was like, I'm gonna be Kayaba Akiho, I think that's his name. I'm gonna create SAO. Not like the killing people part. That's bad, obviously, but like the systems behind it. I thought it was really cool, and I decided to do computer science just to get like my foot in the door, be able to do that stuff. I still like want to do that stuff, but I kind of been more realistic. And yeah, just a little side note for me.
I was willing to bet that is going to be a pretty reliable, way of getting a job soon after college. Maybe not directly out of school. I don't really think I had thought that I was just going to be easy, to make it out, and then instantly get a job. But I was wrong. I was really wrong, especially due to the fact that I, once again, don't have any prior experience. I have been out of school for about 2 months now, and basically I've just been going on LinkedIn and all the job sites, just trying to find anything, applying to a lot of things. And now I'm trying to get internships, right? Except the only problem is they are really only accepting people that are still going to school, at least most of the ones that I'm seeing on LinkedIn. And again, this is going to be, kind of a limited perspective here because I don't know exactly what I'm doing. And that is the whole point of this. I never had anybody in my family that had done any type of computer science.
I think that's a pretty common theme for I think this generation of like CS, like not really knowing what you're doing, because I think a lot of people were fed the dream of like you start CS and you make tons of money, but obviously that isn't the case anymore. And so a lot of people don't know how to get their foot in the door. Like for me personally, I didn't have anybody in my family who did CS. My family did medical stuff, like nursing and other stuff. So I didn't really have that CS background. So for me, I was like fortunate again because I got good internships that helped me out. But for a lot of people who didn't have that, it was pretty rough. If you, especially if you don't have anybody in the industry that you can turn to advice or build connections with. But yeah,
Or IT or technology field. My dad and his family really only started getting money like once they were in their 30s, and they went into the investment side of the business and everything that has to do with that. So I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. All I knew how to do was go to class and try to do my best in school, and I did. But now what? Now what am I supposed to do? I'm in, you know, a absolutely horrible job market, especially for new grads, especially for computer science new grads. It every day feels like to me that I asked myself, what was it all for? And at the same time, I could list several reasons. I love going to school for computer science. I loved grinding and really working hard to get good grades and learning about, different types of programming languages and computer architecture and data structures and everything like that. I always thought that was super interesting. But
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Like when I was in college, I felt that was when I was the most hungry to learn. I mean, I'm still pretty hungry now. Like I put effort into like I work on side projects and stuff. There's a video coming out about that soon. Don't worry. But I like when I was in college, like I was up until like 5 a.m. writing code. I remember during one of my exams, it was for I think game design or like game development, whatever. Uh, During that like exam, we had like 24 hours to do a project, and so it kind of started at like 4 in the morning and like 4 the next morning, and so I was up like writing. I woke up at like 7, and from 7 to like 3:30, I think like 3:50 actually. I was like working on this. It's like 3:50 a.m. not in the afternoon, like not p.m. a.m. So almost a full 24 hours it took me because I got stuck in a part of it, and I just submitted like 5 minutes before the end of the deadline. But that was I got pretty good at scoring. Like I got like 95 or something. But that was like when I was like, I want to get this done. I want to get this right. I want to learn a lot. Like I'm doing tons of research because back then when I graduated, ChatGPT was kind of starting to be a thing, but it wasn't really a thing. Like when I started CS, it was more maybe like my last year or so that like ChatGPT became a thing. So we didn't have those options. We had to like actually do a lot of the research ourselves and kind of grind it out. Like I don't know if you ever heard of Zybooks. It's like this app they use for like writing, like testing code and learning how to code for Java. But that was like you grinding, trying to figure out how to code work, how to do all these things, which I think a lot of CS students today also don't really get the opportunity to do. They don't really grind as much just because you do have things like ChatGPT now that can kind of solve all the issues for you instead of actually like having to go through documentation. And maybe like while you're trying to learn, how string buffering works, you come across another thing that hey, this looks really interesting. This is I don't know, string pooling, and then you just learn a bunch of things while you're trying to figure out how one thing works, which I don't think you really get as much of today. But it also depends on how you use the tools. But yeah, back to the video.
I never knew the way to go in while I was going to school. And really, that absolutely screwed me over. It was horrible. It was an absolutely terrible decision, or I should say non-decision, because I didn't go look for internships. But at the same time, I'm sitting here like, I don't really know, what else I was going to do, right? It's not like I knew in my mind the whole time, right? As soon as I get out of school, I'm going to be completely cooked. I had figured at least that, after doing maybe some personal projects and stuff on the side, that, people would be hiring.
Okay, this is one thing that always makes me so mad. Okay, personal projects. Like when we were in college, I don't know how it works for other colleges or universities, but our professors were like, "God, you have personal projects. You got to work on all these different things, right?" And then when you actually try to get a job, right, they don't care how many personal projects you worked on. Like they just kind of like I don't know how they even pick. They kind of just pick anybody. Like for me, when I got my first couple internships, I got like two different internships, like two different places. And the first place, like I just did like a coding interview, and that's about it. They didn't really look at my projects, or they didn't really have me explain it to them. I did tell them a bit about a stock bot that I was working on because it was a finance company. Maybe that helped them out, but I feel like personal projects don't really carry the weight that they used to, just because again, it's sort of vibe coding now. Like someone could make like a Facebook clone in like a weekend from vibe coding. So personal projects don't really carry the weight that they used to, and I don't think employers really value them as much as they used to before, or if they ever really did value them. Because again, when I graduated, it was kind of like half cooked, half not cooked. We're starting to get cooked. It was like sautéing. So maybe I'm just have a different perspective on this.
Oh, and I would at least have a chance, right? To me, right now, it feels like I have absolutely no chance of succeeding in this industry. And that's not necessarily me trying to be all doomer and like the devs are cooked, entirety of computer science is cooked. I am cooked. Me. That's what this video is about. This video isn't about, how bad the job market is for everybody else. To be honest, I feel like most people are going to be doing better than I am. This is because, like I said, most people knew to get internships and everything. I'm sure they had some outside guidance and, ability to go and get some of these things. I just didn't know.
I think you'd be surprised how many people are in the same situation as he is. Like, just from when I was in college again, we had like our college had like a posting board for jobs that the different employers would actually come to them and say we have these many positions to fill for interns. And so there was like 100 people by the end of I don't know how many people were in my program. Like in my class, there's like 100 people, and I think there's more. But anyways, there's like a certain amount of people, right? But there was only like say 50 jobs. So at least half the people either have to look for their own like outside internships or will be stuck without internship. And so it was pretty competitive. And so a lot of people ended up not getting any internships. So even if you knew about internships, knowing about the internships is one thing, but actually getting an internship might be a completely different thing that you just can't do. So sometimes it's not necessarily even your fault that you're cooked because it's just how the way things are.
All I knew what to do was go to school. That's what I was good at. And so I did, like my school had job fairs and everything. And I went to those, just to try to get, a lay of the land. And I ended up getting like one interview, but I was so ridiculously unprepared. But I also think that was my first interview ever for any computer science related job, at least. I've worked like 3 or 4 other jobs, just for the sake of getting money.
Okay, a little bit of another story time. So I worked different jobs as well before, but my first internship interview when I was looking for internships was at IBM. So they had like an office near where I live, and so I applied online because they had like some postings for our school. So I applied online, and then I was called in for an interview. Okay, and I just yapped, bro. Like they asked me questions. A lot of it wasn't really technical. It was more like interpersonal stuff, and I kind of got nervous. I was like always like but and like I yapped a lot. I think the interviewer kind of got annoyed with me, but like I didn't get the job obviously. But the experience from getting those interviews helped me land my first job when I actually got a job, another interview. But I think it's the experience and the having that experience of failing interviews is important, which a lot of people don't even get to that point because they don't even get the interviews to fail. So a lot of people are struggling because they can't get interviews to fail, which kind of sucks. Because like you can't grow, you can't get better until you like fail and figure out what works, what doesn't work. So I think that's a real frustration of a lot of people who are new to CS. They don't even have the opportunity to have those failures because they're just never given any opportunities at all.
But this is different. This is, something that could be my life and secure my future and make it so I can eat at the end of the day. Because right now, I don't have any money. And that's not like a thing where I'm worried about, going homeless. Thankfully, my parents are letting me live with them while I'm trying to find anything. And the way it's looking now, I'm probably going to have to go and get a job somewhere else. So, one of the other jobs that I used to work, maybe I'll just go back there just to get some money, because to me, it just seems completely like in my situation, because, I can sit here, work on projects and everything, but I have no fucking experience. I don't have, these companies will not look at me. At least that's what I think, right? These companies will not look at me the moment they check my LinkedIn profile and notice I have no CS experience. Now, let's go back to the whole college deal, right? The way I approached college was to do as many classes as I could reasonably.
Yeah, so like again, all these employers are asking people for experience, like, oh, you have to have experience doing a job. Actually, I think it was a while ago. I saw like a meme or a post on or something about how the guy who created. I'll post it on the screen when I find it for reference. But it was like a guy who created a certain programming language, and then he was looking at jobs, and then they said you need a couple years experience. I'm assuming like 6 or 7 years experience. Okay, I didn't mean that. Okay. Anyways, you need like 7 years of experience with the programming language. But the guy who invented it only invented it like 6 years ago. So even the guy who invented the programming language wouldn't be qualified for the job. And that's how kind of cooked CS has gotten, right? It's like they want the most qualified people overqualified people to do most like bare minimum jobs. And so, because a lot of people who are looking for jobs, so like the employers don't really have the motive to be competitive. But for the people who are actually trying to get a job, they have to be really competitive. So a lot of people are underworking or getting jobs that they're overqualified for just to have a job. And so if you're a new grad, you see someone who has tons of experience applying for the same job as you, you're not going to get the job because the employers can say, hey, you worked at a certain company for 10 years, you're more experienced than someone who has to train from the beginning and teach the ropes who doesn't have that experience. So it's a lot more valuable for those employers to get the really experienced people who can make them pay less instead of a new grad who doesn't know anything, that's just pretty much put the training wheels on for. Anyways.
Each semester, including summer semesters, and get out as soon as possible so I could quickly get a job. That was my plan. It turns out that was the worst plan that I could have done. Now, granted, I could have, just done something else and really messed my life up, but I thought I was playing by the rules. I thought I was following all the rules and I was going to secure what I needed to. I was going to secure a job or some type of job experience, an internship, anything. But now it just feels like the goalpost has been moved and there's not a whole lot that I can do about it. Really, I don't know if there's anything I can do about it. So I sit here feeling like an absolutely useless human, scrolling through jobs, trying to find something, scrolling through CS content, trying to figure out projects I could work on or research or something like that. But every day I sit here and do the same thing, and maybe I expect a different result, maybe I don't. But Voss from Far Cry 2, Far Cry 3, I don't remember which one it was. The classic definition of insanity. If you keep doing the same exact thing, expecting a different result, you are insane. Maybe I am. Who knows, man? The amount of just job searching and looking through each individual job and seeing that all of the, like, most entry-level jobs that are listed as entry-level, they're requiring 2+, 3+, or 5+ years of experience. And I'm sitting there like, how in the does this work, right? Now, I don't know how correct this is, but this is just something that I've been told. A lot of these companies are eliminating new grad and intern hires just to give a senior level dev, an AI agent, and they believe that will be a better and effective way to get their products out onto the market or whatever they do to accomplish whatever goal they have for using a developer.
Okay. I actually heard the same thing, and actually I'm seeing the same thing happen just like in the workplace, and there are people I talk to who are also in computer science who have different workplaces. But a lot of these companies are investing in AI. Everybody's investing in AI. The entire economy is AI at this point, right? And so these companies don't want to hire junior developers when they can just replace you with an LLM. Realistically, like if I was a company CEO, I'd do the same thing. If I'm being realistic, to save costs, right? And so for them, it's like, instead of hiring a junior level developer who will do the same task as LLM, why don't we just give someone who has experience an LLM, and then they can be like turbocharged, like they'll be the 10x developer, right? But if we have someone who doesn't know what they're doing and we give them an LLM, perhaps, right? They're just gonna be putting in garbage code, right? Like unoptimized, buggy code that has like security vulnerabilities. But if we give someone who actually know what they're doing, an LLM, well, like they're 2 times more productive. They're getting the small task done easily, and then the big task they can get supercharged with the LLM. So it's like so much more profitable, and it makes more sense to the company to give these people who are more senior the technology to like empower them instead of hiring someone new that they train. But even though it makes business sense, right? I think like I don't say it's a moral obligation of these companies, because the companies don't have to do anything. But it's like they're not going to give these other people a chance to grow and improve as a developer and have that future generation developers who can, support their company and uplift it, because they're all being like not given jobs or not given the experience or the opportunity to improve. I also think that these companies are kind of seeing AI and seeing, okay, like right now, maybe short term, you have to pay extra to OpenAI to have this LLM. But in the near term future or medium term future, like 5-10 years down the road, we're gonna have like agent, like super intelligence or whatever, like the AI super intelligence thing. I forgot what it's called. It has a name. Anyway, the super smart AI that can do everything, right? And so then eventually they're gonna phase out the more mid level or maybe even senior engineers to replace them with these AI. So like for them, it's like a more of a long term like investment. Right now, they can't do much with the AI. Like it can't really do much. But like as things get better over time, and as the projections start to be realized, then these companies are like they're gonna have massive cost savings if they keep going down the route they're going, and AI keeps getting better at the rate it is getting better. So we could see a pretty stark future for not just junior level engineers, but more senior level engineers too, or like middle level engineers like myself. So yeah, it can be pretty scary. Anyways, back to the video.
To make some type of code, you know, and I sit here and it's really like hard just to be like, damn, like none of these companies want me. Why would they? You know, I have nothing. I have nothing. Nothing to my name except for the projects that I did in school and the thing saying that I graduated and did 4 years of school for this computer science thing. That's all I have to my name. How many other thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of applicants are in the exact same boat as me? Probably a lot, you know, but I don't know. Like, I just feel like I was too late, you know. I think now every day, man, I should have just stayed another year at school just to try to get an internship. But that wasn't my goal. I wanted to get out as fast as possible. But I guess that I just had the wrong goals. Now, was there a way that I could have known? Maybe. I don't know. I thought that I was doing good compared to, you know, not compared to, but like I just thought I was doing good because I was getting out in even 4 years. I thought that if I needed to do an extra year, that would be bad. And I'm pretty sure my parents would think the exact same thing, that I'm, you know, doing an extra year there because I'm doing bad at school. But I guess that would have probably benefited me much more. You know, just still being in that environment where everybody's hungry to get some sort of job, and I'm around people that do the same thing that I do. When I'm back home here, nobody else around me is dealing with the same problems that I am because nobody around me is a computer science major. I knew.
I think it kind of makes an interesting point there about getting or staying an extra year at university, because it's like I do think if you are someone who needs the internships or doesn't have internship experience, there can't be real value in staying the extra year, just because getting those internships kind of really separates like developers and jobs, right? If you tell your employer that, hey, I spent a couple of months at XYZ company and I did this, this, and this for them, and show like actionable results and tell them about your experience there, right? That will make you stand out way more than someone who just like, yeah, I went to college, I did like my calculator app project, I made a website. It's like, yeah, no, like that's not enough. But if you tell some, hey, I have real world experience, then even if you are a junior developer, they're more likely to be like, you know what, he's a junior, but since he has the experience, we can kind of build on that experience and help him out more. So for this guy, I think that there might have been value for him in be doing the extra year. But you know, what do I know?
I had several like computer science friends when I was going to school, you know, and that's all we would talk about, you know, just because we all thought the subject was interesting and we loved grinding and on projects for, you know, all night long, you know, just to get that final last piece of the puzzle in. I loved it. It gave me so much purpose. But now I'm sitting here trying to find, you know, other projects to work on to see if I could get noticed. But on the other hand, I'm like, why? Am I just going to do all this stuff for nothing? Is there still a point to doing all this? And I'm sure if any developer in the industry sees this, they'll be like, yes, 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 go do it. You already made it. You already made it. Like the future, I don't know what the future is looking like for computer science, let alone myself in computer science. I'm still going to try, you know, because I don't think I have another choice, really. So I'm just going to sit here and, you know, try to find some sort of internship or any type of experience that I can, you know, I guess put on my resume so I could get my foot in the door. Because that's notoriously the hardest part among computer science majors, is getting your foot in the door. That's the most, I feel like, the most difficult and most important part. Once you get that experience, people see that you have been verified and you're a verified good worker, that you have worked for so-and-so company, and they'll want to hire you. Nobody's going to want to hire me if I haven't worked anywhere before. And
okay, so guy just actually brought up a really good point. Like a lot of these more experienced developers, I want to say, like these the tech influencers and guys on like Twitter and stuff are like, oh yeah, you gotta do this, you gotta do this project, you gotta do this and this to get a job, right? When they have no clue, like I don't want to crash out, but they have no clue what it's like to actually be out there trying to get a job, right? Like they've been at their company for so long, or they have so much like experience, and again, experience is good, right? Like you learn from experience, you build off other people's experiences, right? But fundamentally, the job market and the economy that a lot of these people who are more senior executive CFOs and like just really experienced developers who've been programming for like 20 years, what they're working on, like the situation they're in, is completely different from what a new grad is in, right? Them saying, "Oh yeah, these new grads just got to work on projects. They just gotta market yourself better." No, everyone and their dog is trying to market themselves. Everyone and their dog is working on a project, right? Everyone has done the same projects. Everyone is doing the same like leak code. Like they're grinding leak codes. Like we have some leak code demons, okay, who can solve every leak code problem in like 10 minutes, right? Like these people still can't get jobs, right? Because fundamentally the way it works is broken, right? And like I don't know how it's going to be fixed, but like CS isn't working the way it used to. And so these people who are operating off like the old mentality of just do projects, make connections, leak code, you'll get a job. Like I think fundamentally right now the biggest thing is connections, right? If you know someone, you'll get a job a lot easier than someone who doesn't know someone. Just like having those connections, right? And that's why LinkedIn is so popular now, right? Is because everybody needs those connections to get a job. And so for a lot of people who can't make those connections or who are just working on projects, it doesn't work. And so when they hear these more senior developers saying like project, oh, do leak code, that isn't gonna get you a job, okay? That isn't gonna get you a job. It's gonna make you homeless, and you're gonna be out there grinding and doing 1,000 resumes a week for jobs, while other people who have connections, who are more like, I guess, out there, you really gotta put yourself out there. I think is the best way right now to get a job. Because if you're just more focused on the technical, you're gonna have a rough time. But yeah, back to the video. Sorry about the crash out.
That means because I lacked internships, because I chose to do school, as fast as I could, because I thought that was the right thing to do. I thought that was going to be the thing that was going to get me the job. Like I don't know about if the fastest is the right word, but if that was, I guess the best way for me to get a job getting out of school. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like the game is just a little bit cooked right now. And
it is cooked.
Sure, this probably has a lot to do with the stock market and how not the stock market, the job market, and how it's crazy unemployment rates for new grads right now. It's just not really good for a lot of people in my position. Not even CS related, just new grads in general. Nobody wants to I don't know. I guess really, you could boil this whole video down into the phrase, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. I don't know how I'm going to get a job. But I don't have any other choice but to keep doing it because, I need money. I got to eat. And there's no other way around that. I got to get some money. I got to get a job because otherwise, the last 4 years of my life would have been gone to nothing. And
that's a really sad thing. Like a lot of people are really struggling. Like if you spent years at university trying to, get that CS degree, you were sold this promise of a decently paying job. Because CS is, if we're looking at it realistically, one of the better paying industries right now, just in the world we live in. And so if you're sold this lie and you build everything on top of it, and then now you can't even get a job, it really makes you question yourself. What am I doing? Did I just waste 4 years of my life doing this? I know people who did CS, they got the degree, the diploma, the whatever, right? And then they decide to do something different. They enter a trade. They go back to university or college for a different program because they just can't get jobs. And if you're someone who, like this guy and myself, I had the opportunity that we're blessed to have parents who can live with, who, I didn't really have any expenses. Parents paid for food and everything. So if I didn't have a job, I wasn't really worried about eating. I couldn't buy other stuff. But if you are someone who your livelihood depends on you getting a job, you have maybe a family or an apartment or a house or a car, all these different things, right, that are causing you need for money, right? You need some money to survive. And then now you go to school, you spend thousands of dollars on school, and then you can't get a job. it's like you are in serious financial trouble. Like you have to do something, whether it's pick up a different job in a different career, or maybe potentially go back to school and pick up a trade or something. But the CS thing isn't something you can wait on for years, or for not maybe years, but maybe months, some people years for it to pan out. So you don't like you don't know what to do in that situation. It's like, what do I either keep trying to grind out lead code or projects that maybe something will finally click, or do I just give up on this dream that I had? So it has been very rough. I still talk to this one dude I went to college with, who still hasn't gotten a job. I guess last time I talked to him, it was like a month since I talked to him, so maybe he did get a job, but who at the time didn't get a job. And so it's like, what do you do at that point? Like, do you pick up another job? Do you find something else to do? And it's rough for these people because it's like a lot of unknowns. And you don't know when something will stick, when an employer will call you back, when you get a good interview, when you finally get a job. So I do feel for a lot of people like this guy who are in that situation. Anyways, back to the video.
I don't know if I like that phrasing. It was for nothing, but because I did enjoy it, I enjoyed it. I made a lot of lifelong friends. I had a lot of good memories, and I grew as a person, definitely. But I went to college so that I could get a job in what I was studying, just like everybody else does. Because I feel like a lot of people, to most people, that's just the certified plan that you do in order to get a job. That's just what you do. You go to school, you go to high school, you get out of high school, you go to college, you graduate college, and you get yourself a job. Now, in the old days where, whatever, industry you're in, you could just get out of college and boom, you got a job. It don't work like that no more. And especially for what I'm doing. I like I said, I didn't exactly expect me to get out and instantly find a job. I knew I was going to have to work for it, but I don't know what I'm working for anymore. Am I working for nothing? Are there just going to be less and less jobs as the months go on? Like, I don't exactly know what the next steps are.
You see, and that's a really hard thing, right? Because like there's not people it's not that people don't want to work hard. Like people are working hard. They're grinding projects, they're grinding lead code, they're doing all they can. There's like I've seen videos of people doing like 2,000 resumes, like they're submitting 2,000 resumes to employers. Like people are desperate to find a job. They're working for it. But it's like there's a disconnect between the hard work and the reality. And so back in the day when people just like, threw jobs at you, it was easier. Like during COVID or like pre-COVID. But now it's like so much harder, and people are just like, what am I even working for if nothing's sticking? If I'm just wasting time, for like these employers don't even have the decency to like respond to me. Like, what am I even doing? So it's hard for a lot of people to get through that.
I'm entirely uncertain about the future, and I just don't know what I'm doing it all for anymore, I guess. Because when I was in school, I was studying to get good grades, and I was in school to get a job. Now I'm not in school anymore. Like a big part of my identity as a person is gone. So I need to, keep, studying on my own and doing, what I can to, I guess, try to find a job or something. But I don't know. I just feel like I'm in a pretty unique position because everybody else I know that is in CS is either like graduated and is doing good for themselves and was always a better developer than I was, or they're still in school. They didn't make the same mistake that I did, and they've gotten themselves some internships and are really doing what they can. I don't know.
That kind of hits like the imposter syndrome almost, because like when I was in college, I knew this one guy who did an internship, and like, we were like halfway through like second semester or whatever, and this guy after his internship he leaves the college because the internship just decides to keep him. Like he was that good of a developer that right out of college, you're like, you know what, like doesn't need to finish college, just gonna stay with them. I know two people who that happened to. And so when you're like me, like struggling to just do assignments or just find like a regular internship, like I struggled to find a couple internships, and it's like these guys are just like getting full-time jobs like while everybody else is struggling. It makes you feel like, what am I doing wrong? Like how bad of a developer am I? Like am I that bad? And it makes you really question like your worth as a software developer, or if you're even making the right decision to go into this industry or like kind of switch careers. So I think that's what this guy and a lot of people are kind of experiencing that imposter syndrome. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, am I even good enough to do this thing I want to do that I dreamed of doing? Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to, I guess, record this and just talk about what has been happening in my life recently, I guess, because, this is the main focus of my life and this is what I do. So, I don't know. It feels like hell, like constant toiling and mental torture just to have it all happen again, just to have nothing happen, you know, like working, trying to find jobs, working on programming and whatever, just for me to go on the job search and see that every single job requires 3 plus 5 plus years of experience for an entry level role, you know, and it just makes me feel like an entirely useless human being. And like I severely lack purpose because it feels like I'm doing nothing, I guess, is the point of this whole thing. I don't know if I'm going to upload this. I don't think anybody's going to watch it, even, if that happens. Uh, so I just kind of felt like sitting here and talking a little bit, I guess, because this sucks, man. This sucks. And, I'm sure there's 1,000 things that I could be doing better to get a fucking job in CS or whatever, but I don't know those things, man. Okay? Nobody in my family does this. I'm the first one that has ever done anything tech related in my family. I don't have connections to the market like that. My family doesn't have connections to the market. So it's really just me out here. You know what I mean? And, maybe one of my friends can, put in a good word for me at the job that they're working at and I can get something. Maybe that's really the only way that I can see myself getting a job in the near.
That's the only way a lot of people can get jobs now in CS is just, again, through those connections, knowing someone in the company or knowing someone who knows someone in the company. That's kind of how I got my job, but that's a story for another time. But having those connections is huge for people, again. So if you can, like, use your time in college to work on projects, yes, but really build connections with a lot of your classmates, which is something I wish I had done more of. But that's not something I did a bit, but not as much as I should have. Because again, I was during COVID though, so most of my semesters we were at home. I think for the first 2 or 3 years, or yeah, I think for the first 2 years we were at home, and so it was a lot harder to make connections with classmates. But if you can, like, talk to people, make connections, like build friendship groups, so that when you do need someone to maybe get you a job or like have put in a good word for you, you have that person instead of struggling as much. There will still be a struggle, but maybe a bit less.
Future in computer science, but I don't know. I mean, everything I do now just feels useless. I don't. I'm trying to do things that I find fun. I'm trying to stream more. I want to make YouTube videos, but at the end of the day, I just sit here and look for jobs, I guess, and that just really just ruins every bit of that day every time I do, because all these computer science creators that are on Instagram, saying, these are the top 5 ways you can get a job.
Don't listen to them. They are lying. They all are shills. They're just trying to make money off you. They make their money not through we're doing computer science. No, again, there's some that are genuinely good, right? But a lot of bad actors out there. So don't base your skill as a computer science person, as a person looking for a job, on what some influencer says, or don't follow influencer advice, because a lot of times it doesn't work and they're just trying to find ways to get that audience attention, make money from ads and stuff. So please don't, like, if you say one thing from this video, don't base your 2 things from this video. 1, you make connections with people, and 2, don't base your CS skills or to take much advice from what influencers are doing, because a lot of their influencers have agendas or not really genuine. There are some genuine ones, like one person I look at a Primogen, but even like me, like watching this video, like you're just watching me, like I could just be talking out my butt. But if you find value in it, leave a like and subscribe. This is the moment where I call to action, subscribe. But like otherwise, I'm just another dude on the computer, making a video talking just about my experience. So don't really put much weight into even what I have to say. Just, focus on yourself, focus on making those connections and talking to people, grinding out your work projects, and hopefully eventually you'll get a job. I'm hoping all of you guys get a job if you want a job in CS. But yeah, back to the rest of the video.
And it's like expected to apply to like 500, 1,000 jobs, and maybe you'll get one. And these are the developers.
Sorry, a little bit pause. That's also something that pisses me off. Like, why is it that people why is it that we have to apply to 1,000,000 jobs before we get one call back? Or at least the worst is like when you apply to a job and you just get nothing. You don't know if they saw they saw your resume or just like decided to not ignore it. Like, I'd rather have you say, "Hey, I don't want you," so I don't have like keep hope up that these guys will potentially have me, than just like say nothing at all, which is I think isn't fair. Like, yeah, you have all these automated systems to send out your emails. That's the best, like least a lot of people can do. But yeah,
developers that have experience, have internships, have good projects, and all that just makes me do is just think, damn, I might be a useless human because I don't have any of this shit, and I was supposed to. But I try not to beat myself up over it too hard because I didn't know. I guess it's a skill issue. I don't care. I did this because I liked it. I studied this because I liked it and I thought it was interesting.
That's the important part. Just like it.
I didn't do this for like the guaranteed money. Guaranteed, quote unquote. Everybody was hyping, learn the code, da, 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 da. And now everybody's doing it, and now nobody has a job. It's a damn shame, man. But
it's a shame.
I don't know. Maybe I will upload this. Like I said, I don't think anybody's gonna sit here and watch, this at all.
I'm really sitting here watching it.
But if there is somebody in my similar position, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you win. I hope you get that yes from a company. I hope you're doing good side projects.
I hope so too.
And yeah, I
guess in the chat.
Hopefully, I can find myself one of them internships or one of them jobs in the next few months or so, because it feels impossible for me. Like, this feels like a Herculean task.
No, you got this,
just to get a job
in the effort,
doing what the field that I studied. And I don't think it should be this hard, Like, I don't know, bro.
It shouldn't be that hard.
I've been rambling for 24 minutes and 25 seconds. So, yeah. Maybe I'll upload this. Maybe I'll delete it later. Maybe I won't upload it at all. I don't know. But maybe I should just start doing YouTube videos and, seeing if I can do the job that I dreamed about for years and years and years. Maybe, because I can't even get a real job. So, you know what? Maybe I will start doing this more. Because it doesn't feel like I have a whole lot of other options. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm not gonna edit this. I'm just gonna send this.
Yeah, that's about like it in the video. If you guys like that video, I really liked it a lot. Just, it really talked about a lot of things that I have seen personally from CS and what a lot of people I talk to have experienced. So, I hope you guys just go over to this channel, Henry117. Subscribe, like his video, share with other people. You subscribe, like this video as well. Hit that like button. I'm trying to get to 50 subs. You better hit that like button, hit that sub button. Yeah. And yeah, I'll see you guys around. Peace.